I'm really not that interested in stopping. It's something that I love and will continue to love. I've been very, very lucky to be involved in some very exciting things, of course, and I think people most identify me with just a few things, even though I've done many, but I think people identify me with the Show Jumping Hall of Fame, with Lake Placid, with the Hampton Classic, and with the World Cup Finals, because I've done so many of them in this country. In 1978, I was in school getting my master's in PR at Boston University, and it was the third year that Mason was running the American Jumping Derby, as it was originally called, at his farm in Newport, Rhode Island. I had never been to a horse show. I didn't know what a horse show was, but everything I did just seemed to work. In 1990, also, I was hired as PR director for the USHJA, and then my first Olympic Games was 1992 in Barcelona.
He's got his company, Classic Communication, but it isn't the company the shows want, it's the person that the shows want. They want Marty.
I went up to Lake Placid. Lake Placid, of course, was managed by Gene Mish, and I certainly knew who Gene Mish was. He says, "Oh, Marty, sit down. I want to talk to you about coming to Florida." And so now I was working the Florida circuit.
I think he redesigned how the press and how our shows are covered, and I think he was way ahead of his time, basically, there. He was able to apply the promotion and the media centers and the up-to-date world-class coverage of our equestrian sport back in its early days.
The way I got started with the Hall of Fame, it was at an AGA board meeting in 1985, I believe, and the AGA board decided we should have a Hall of Fame for show jumping, and they asked Jane Clark, because of her connection, obviously, in running the Baseball Hall of Fame, if she would spearhead it. So she did, and I remember about a couple years later, we went down. Well, actually, finding a home was something, and Elizabeth Bush Burke offered Busch Gardens, and we officially opened in 1989, even though we kind of opened without a home in 1987. It was 1990 that I was fortunate that Jane selected me to oversee the Show Jumping Hall of Fame as executive director, and I've done that ever since. Close to 2 years before the World Equestrian Games at the Kentucky Horse Park, we had a board meeting, and it was decided, let's try to get to the Kentucky Horse Park. So we have the Hall of Fame's museum located at the USHJA, but then it was the plaque. So I was there for a Kentucky 3-day event, and it was a spring, and they had just built the new stadium. I said, how about if I give you something that will be attractive, meaningful, that people will love to see? Of course, that is now the home of the Show Jumping Hall of Fame. To me, it's one thing if the world out there doesn't know about our sport, doesn't know about the history of our sport, fine. But if you've chosen to be part of our sport, if you've chosen that you want to compete and live on our horse show circuit, it's my feeling that you should know a little bit about the history of the sport. So I propose to our board that we publish books where we have the plaques of all of the Hall of Famers in there, plus some stories written by Hall of Famers about the history of show jumping. And we don't sell them, we give them out to the riders on our Show Jumping Hall of Fame Jumper Classic Series. And we're just hoping that doing all these things will help people learn a bit more about those who came before them and help make our sport great.
He appreciates the horses, he appreciates the riders, he appreciates the sport as a whole. He's done so much to advance through his work with the press and the work with the riders and the work with the Hall of Fame and things like that. He's really just gone a step beyond.
He has a pretty good perspective on things, and when we have had to deal with certain things with the Hall of Fame over the last 20 years, let's say, he's had a very good perspective on where we should go or how we should handle this and so forth. And he is very, very good about assembling a team. And it's like a horse show manager. Basically, you hire people to take care of things, and so you don't have to worry about them. And they're professional about it in every way, from getting interviews to handling the TV people, handling the computer graphics.
Marty is deserving of that award and many, many others. He's somebody who has a vision, who has probably done more for this sport as a non-rider, non-trainer, non-owner than probably anybody in the country. Marty's the kind of person that the riders trust, the owners trust. He works tirelessly at his job, and he understands the limitations. He understands how to work with people. He's just an amazing individual, on top of being a very nice guy.
I'm very, very excited for Marty to receive the USHJA Visionary Award, and I think it's well deserved of all people. And you know, he's behind the scenes, but he isn't.
It is something that I am just so happy to be part of. I care about what I do, and again, I always just thought of it as doing my job, but if it's appreciated, well, that does make me proud and happy.